In today's video, I asked ChatGPT AI to predict the 2028 presidential election, and these were the results that I found. But before we get started with ChatGPT's prediction, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss my content, press the like button, share this video. Don't forget, if you're interested, we have memberships, so you can find the links to that in the description section. So I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion and my thoughts on whether I agree with ChatGPT's outcome or prediction in the 2028 election. And now it shows J.D. Vance to be the Republican nominee and Gavin Newsom to be the Democratic nominee. And that itself, to start the video off, I do agree with that. As of right now, those are the top candidates going into the race. I mean, you can make a case for someone like Mark Rubio on the Republican side, but as for the Democratic side, it's not quite clear as it is on the Republican side on who the candidate might be. Right now, we're only hearing about Gavin Newsom, but a lot of Democrats actually don't really favor him as much. So maybe if we get some more Democratic candidates to jump in the race, even though nothing's official just yet, there's no one in the race just yet, maybe Gavin Newsom's chances can decrease. But that's pretty much what we're hearing right now. So yes, I do agree with that. So let's begin with Nevada. ChatGPT predicts a slight edge to Gavin Newsom, surprisingly. I have to disagree with this. I think Republicans will continue to win Nevada in elections going forward. I think Donald Trump has set the tone in that state in the 2024 election. He flipped it. He won it by about 3 percentage points. Now I know the nation should shift towards the left in favor of Democrats in 2028, but I still don't think that's enough for them to win Nevada. It has dramatically changed its political state, and I think whoever the Republican nominee is likely wins it. Now, with the margin, I would say about a percentage point, not as much Trump did. I expect it to be decline in favor of Democrats, but I still think it should be a tilt red state. Now, ChatGPT predicts it will be a tilt blue state, so the opposite. It has Newsom winning by about 2 percentage points on average. So as you can see right here, ChatGPT, it says purple but trending slightly Democratic is, historically large urban vote in, Las Vegas, Reno area helps Democrats. Now, that's actually not true if we're talking about 2024. That's what helped Trump win this state because Harris only won Clark County, I believe, about 2 percentage points. So we're going to be filling out the map according to ChatGPT, not myself. So this AI has Nevada going to the Democrats, Gavin Newsom in the next election. Now let's move on to the state of Arizona. So as you can see here, ChatGPT has Arizona going to J.D. Vance. As you can see, it says Arizona narrowly Republican 2024 and trending R. GOP strength in suburbs persists. So with the margin, it's about a 2-point victory. So the total opposite of Nevada. Nevada was 2 points for Newsom, and now Arizona's 2 points for J.D. Vance. That's going to be a lean margin for J.D. Vance. And actually, let me change Nevada's margin from tilt to lean. That was my mistake. So far, I disagree with ChatGPT on Nevada, but as for Arizona, I can see that being realistic. I do agree with that as of right now. I do have Arizona leaning, ever so slightly for J.D. Vance by a couple percentage points. It's not going to be as red as it was in 2024, especially with these deportations happening. I think Trump can lose some of that Hispanic vote, and his popularity overall is probably going to hurt the Republican nominee at the top of the ticket, regardless of an endorsement. So then, as for Texas, ChatGPT writes, Texas remains lean R despite growth. Newsom needs huge turnout shifts, historical pattern. So that I do agree with. Now the margin for J.D. Vance is about it's just within 2 points. So I'm not sure what ChatGPT is saying there, but it does say lean, so I'll characterize it as lean for J.D. Vance. I disagree with the margin here. I think it'll be likely for J.D. Vance. Trump did win it by about 14 points. I know that's not that common for Trump. In the past, he only won it by 5 in 2020, and in 2016 he didn't even get double digits. He only won it by 8. In 2024, it was the one election Trump managed to win Texas by over that 10-point threshold. So I do think that's rare for nowadays Republican Party. Texas should be closer. Trump should lose popularity with the Hispanic vote, and I know he's not the nominee, but it's going to hurt whoever is at the top of the ticket, in this case, J.D. Vance. So it's going to be much closer. I expect Vance to pull out Texas by about 6 to 7, percentage points. And then the next state is going to be Georgia. ChatGPT says that Texas remains lean R despite growth. Newsom needs huge turnout shifts, historical pattern. So Georgia, will be lean for J.D. Vance according to ChatGPT. So now this is where things get a little tricky. I do disagree with this because I think Georgia should vote to the left of a state like Nevada, and most of you guys can agree with me on that as well. But ChatGPT is saying, no, not so fast. The opposite's going to happen, and Nevada's going to vote to the left of Georgia. Now, if this was 2016, I would agree with you, but 2028, Georgia should be more bluer than Nevada should be, and I do have Democrats currently winning Georgia in the 2028 election. Trump actually did not perform that well in that state. He only won by 2 points, so I will have to disagree with that. And now moving on to North Carolina. So ChatGPT predicts that this will be a Republican state for J.D. Vance in 2028. I do agree with that. The margin, I'm not sure. Consistently GOP post 2012. Trump-Vance style candidates do well here. That is very, very true. When you have a neocon type of candidate, establishment like Mitt Romney, who's not a populist candidate, Democrats like Obama win. So when you have populist candidates, Republicans do well in North Carolina. That is absolutely true. I agree with that with ChatGPT. So North Carolina, lean for J.D. Vance. And by the way, Gavin Newsom, he's from the West Coast, so he's not going to do that well in these type of states, and possibly he won't do well in the Rust Belt as well. J.D. Vance is a Rust Belt type of candidate. We do need to remind ourselves about that. Now, Virginia, in my opinion, I think Virginia is going to be 8 to 10 win, 8 to 10 win state for the Democrats. I think that's vastly going to trend towards the left. You saw what happened in the 2025 midterms, Abigail Spanberger. So I think Virginia could get close to 10 points for Democrats on the generic ballot in 2028. Now let's see what ChatGPT says. This AI writes, Dem leaning since 2008, 2024. Virginia went D. So it has Newsom winning it, obviously. So that's going to be likely Democrat. No surprise here for anybody. And then Minnesota, ChatGPT predicts that Minnesota will go to Gavin Newsom. I agree with that as well. Blue state for 30 plus years. This is its description. GOP has work to do to flip it. Yeah. Now, if Trump couldn't flip it in 2024, I don't think anyone can, honestly, on the Republican side. Now, Minnesota is that one state that does not like populist candidates. Dating back to Ronald Reagan, when he won all 49 states, that one state he did not win was Minnesota. So if Republicans want a chance of winning Minnesota, they need an establishment type of candidate, the polar opposite of what North Carolina typically likes, a more populist candidate. Similar to Arizona, Minnesota likes establishment, what some people would call neocon type of candidates on the right. So Minnesota is going to be a likely blue state in 2028. And now we have 4 states to cover, the 3 Rust Belt states and then New Hampshire to end off this video. So ChatGPT predicts that Wisconsin will go to J.D. Vance in 2028. It says very tight. I agree, 2020, Dem, 2024, GOP. Lean GOP tilts into 2028. So I'll characterize this tilt for J.D. Vance. Keep in mind, Wisconsin's a little tricky because in 2020, it was the reddest Rust Belt state of the 3. And in 2024, that totally changed. It was the bluest of the 3. So I think Wisconsin is probably the hardest Rust Belt state to predict in 2028. I think Pennsylvania is going to be the easiest one to predict because it voted to the right of both of those states in 2024. Now, Wisconsin's a little up in the air. I'm going to have to disagree with this. I think it will be a blue state in 2028. As for Michigan, I also think this will be a blue state. So I'm going to agree with ChatGPT here. It has Gavin Newsom winning this, which is really interesting. So one of the few times in this video I'm agreeing with ChatGPT. Auto Union and Metro turnout favors Dems, close, but likely blue edge. Yeah, the main reason why Trump won Michigan in 2024 was because of Dearborn, Michigan, and that, pro-Palestinian vote. And they didn't like the way the Biden administration was handling it. Well, now they figured out that Trump is handling it far worse than Biden did. So Trump's going to lose a lot of the vote. And J.D. Vance, he's a Rust Belt candidate. Gavin Newsom's not, so that could go into the Republicans' favor. But still, 2028 should be a blue year. Michigan will be blue. I agree with ChatGPT. And then the final Rust Belt state, Pennsylvania. ChatGPT has J.D. Vance winning. I kind of agree. Now, the Rust Belt states don't typically break apart, so if one of them goes to one side, the rest will follow. So I think they all might go blue at the end of the day, because obviously Democrats will win at least one, most likely in 2028. So if they don't break apart, then Democrats probably will win all three in 2028. So let's see what ChatGPT says. Pennsylvania, Republican. It has been razor thin. GOP advantage in 2024 suggests edge for Vance if national GOP does well. So tilt R. And the last and final state, with its 4 electoral votes, is New Hampshire. ChatGPT says it's going to go to Gavin Newsom. I agree. I think it'll actually be more bluer than it was in 2024. Traditionally blue, GOP hasn't won here recently. So Harris won it by 3. I think that was actually underwhelming for Donald Trump. I thought it would be around there, maybe a little bit closer. But if that's the case, I think New Hampshire will be probably +7 for Newsom in 2028. So lean to likely at that. So ChatGPT AI predicts 247 electoral votes for Gavin Newsom to J.D. Vance 291. So a slight improvement for Democrats, but still not good for them. They're supposed to win this race, which I think they can. So I think this will be more bluer than what ChatGPT says for 2028. So instead of 312 for Republicans, it will be 291. I still expect Democrats to win this. So this is the map according to ChatGPT, not my prediction. Let me know if you agree, what states you agree with, or disagree with in the comment section down below. One last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss my content, press the like button, and share this video. Thank you everyone for watching.